reading your bio, and you're a Renaissance woman, girl. I am so happy to meet you. I am a fellow journalist, and you were an award-winning journalist. Congratulations. That is so amazing. And then also it says like and then did I get this right? You did the illustrations for your book?
Yes.
Wow. Wow. That is incredible. That is the first thing people ask me when they see my books too. And I'm like, no, I can't draw. I can barely draw a stick person, but kudos to you that you illustrated your whole book. And it's beautiful. I was looking at the pictures. They're just stunning. Can you tell us a little bit about your concept? Because I love that it's the hummingbird and the narwhal just coming together.
Yeah. So it's about these two creatures that look alike. The hummingbird and the narwhal, they look alike, and they come from completely different worlds.
Yes.
So it's about the preciousness of their meeting and then how they help each other out in life. And it's also a metaphor for, humans. We might be from different places, but we can still help each other out. And it is very precious to meet another person because basically you have that moment of the meeting, but then there's like a whole galaxy of history behind each of the people that you meet. So it's very precious, that moment. You never know where it will go. So it sort of like inspires people to be kind and, to value friendship and to find purpose. And there's a little bit of magic in it too.
I love it. I love it. So what age range are we talking about for this book?
It's a really good question. This is my first book. And everyone asked me that question, especially when I was just writing it. In fact, I know Amy and Sandy were giving me help with that.
Yes.
And I, now that I'm a little more seasoned, I would say this is a family book.
Oh, yes.
This is a book you don't want to read alone. This is a book that you want to be read to or read to. And I've heard these amazing stories of children reading it to themselves. Recently heard a story yesterday. I stopped to a bookstore, and they told me about this boy who's like always running around with like this feverish energy, and then all of a sudden they were like, "Where is he?" And he was sitting in a corner reading this book, my book.
Oh my God!
Very quiet, which is like it was like wow. It was a great story for me to hear. Just like how did it manifest in a little boy, and he was 6. So I would say if I had to put ages, I would say 6 to 12.
Yeah.
But, I mean, parents and adults are also loving it.
And that's what too. When I am around them, I'm like, this is a great story time book because we did story time with our kids. I'm sure Amy does story time with her kids. And that is so important, building that bond with the books. And just like you were saying, this is a family book. That is an amazing concept because then they bridge that gap to just grow and love for the stories. I was looking at your art for a second when Amy was showing that. Was that pastel or what was your medium?
So I'm mostly an acrylic painter.
Oh, gotcha.
So the color images are paintings, and then the drawings are pencil drawings basically. So, and the story, the narwhal lives in the land of black and white. So he lives under the water in that land, and there's no color really in that world. And then the hummingbird lives above the horizon in the land of color. So so I use the medium to sort of express that.
That is a great concept. I love that because then does the narwhal get to see the color when he emerges?
Yeah, so he doesn't know what color is, and when he meets the hummingbird for the first time, he gets to learn about her world and all the things that she does and experiences, and then she gives him an opportunity to make a wish or like what he wants. And he wants to find the purpose of his horn because she knows the purpose of her horn, but he doesn't. So she helps him find that. And what he finds out is that he's a unicorn of the sea and he shares color and joy with the world, but he doesn't even know what color is. So it's a story about his purpose, finding his purpose.
A little self-discovery and just introspective behavior on both of their parts, almost like the hummingbird is befriending him, like just bringing that joy almost. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, she's lost because she's on her migration north from South America to
Yes.
Maine, where the land of Nectar is, and she gets blown off course. And this is real life stories. I mean, I actually seen in scientific manuals like birds get blown off course,
Yes.
and
Yes.
birds get flown into like typhoons, and because they have GPSs on these birds and they're following them. So, but in this story, she gets blown off course and lands in the Arctic. She's completely lost, and then lands on a branch that's bobbing up and down in the water,
That is
which
so
is
cool.
the narwhal, which she finds out later is the narwhal.
Uh-huh. So, and I saw also, sorry, that your art has been displayed in galleries or museums.
Yeah,
Can you tell us a
yeah,
little bit about that?
yeah. So as it's sort of like I grew up, my first job was a journalist, and then I was a photographer,
Mm-hmm.
and then I transformed that into digital art. So my art has been displayed in like on financial district in Boston, in several galleries,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's interesting how life transmutes because
Yes.
I wanted to be an artist when I was younger, but my dad was like, "You're not going to school for art."
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
like, "Okay,"
That's because your
and
father loved you and wanted you to support yourself.
Yes.
well, here we are. Like my life
Yes.
has sort of come full circle,
Mm-hmm.
and I get it. My dad was, thinking the best for me in his thinking, but it's interesting how life sort of comes around. Because I actually studied science in school,
Ah.
the opposite of art.
Yeah, because it wasn't, it said like you had like environmental features or so that you
Yeah,
covered, that kind of reporting.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, I was a writer for like after college, but my degree is environmental science.
There you go.
Yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
the BS degree. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I just had a basic journalism degree. I was just, let's give me something to write about. Yes. How did the concept for this story evolve?
Oh, that's a good question. And I was just walking along the woods on an island in Maine with a friend, and I just like sort of chuckled about an idea I had. It was very sort of offhanded. I was like, "Oh, that's funny. Like, what about like a hummingbird and a narwhal meeting?" I just had an idea,
Yes.
and then it wasn't until a couple of years later, around like the time of uh, COVID or the pandemic, where I actually set to work to actually create the
Mm-hmm.
story, which took me 2 years to do the writing and the illustration.
Mm-hmm.
And then a fond friend of ours, actually Amy and Sandy, named Bellany Dishon, was my coach throughout the
Mm-hmm.
whole process, and like her coaching was invaluable. To write a book, to do something that's like heart centered, coming so vulnerably from your heart,
Mm-hmm.
is not easy because all those like fears and insecurities come up from your childhood.
Yes.
Like they're really real, like right here. You're like, oh my god, and like, am I good enough? And can I really do this? And all that. And she was an amazing coach to guide me through all that. And actually, I did it. I manifested it. It's just
Mm-hmm.
a huge accomplishment in my life, and such a like I'm really really proud of it.
Yes, you should be. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful concept. The art is beautiful. Did you always want to be an author? Because I feel like for me, it was like in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, I want to do this, but, and it kept trying to, so it just kept, like you said, it manifested. And then when it becomes a reality, it's an
Yeah.
amazing thing. Did you always have maybe thinking
Not
like,
really. What I had is I had like real intention and what's the word? An aching almost. Like it was like I remember crying about it because I felt like I hadn't fulfilled it, which is to make a difference with kids.
right?
And it almost makes me cry now. Like just, I I just wanted that so badly, and I didn't know how to do it. And so like I thought long and hard, like what's the best way to do it? And for me, being in a classroom wasn't it, because I don't have that intense like energy to be with them every day.
Mm-hmm.
But what I have is like a way to guide them, to children, I would say, to like find their own purpose to, value friendship and also all like respect for all creatures on the planet. And
Yes.
so it was a whole unfolding of like, okay, what's the most effective way for me to make a difference? And that's how it happened. And then it was like you said, Russell, like my whole life kind of came into like I was a writer, I was an artist. My dad didn't told me not to go to art school, and then I came back. Like, and this is the most effective way to make a difference.
Yes, exactly.
So,
exactly.
yeah.
And the connection, how did you make the connection between the hummingbird and the narwhal? Because they're so opposite ends of the spectrum. How did those two, because I don't know. Sometimes like it just like it's a light bulb moment almost, right?
Exactly. Like I was saying, I was just walking along with a friend and it popped into my head.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with probably other people who are artists, you get these ideas and maybe they're channels. Maybe my mentor, who's no longer with us, was sending me a message from the other world. I don't
Yes.
know, but I got a strong message. And whether you're going to act on that message is another story, because we get them all the time. I think with this book, the message is so strong. I had to do it, and I just chose to do it, and then I did it, and it was not easy. It was like 2 years of constant, like, okay, I'm doing it. Okay, I'm doing it. Okay, I'm doing it. And still to this day, it's like I'm doing it because, I go to bookstores to propose it, and every single time I have to open my heart, like, okay, here's my book, here's the message, and would you please collaborate with me to spread this message
Exactly.
to everyone so that we can make a difference together. So really, it's a community effort.
Yes. I can totally relate. Totally relate. Because you're like, this is my heart and soul. Please share.
Yeah.
We want, like you were saying, you want to impact the kids with a positive message,
Right.
and just show them a different perspective, about life, about animals, or whatever it is. We're just trying to like give them a good connection and a positive experience.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you have any questions, Russell?
I'm dying to ask questions.
I bet.
But I wanted Annie to get to tell her story because it's a beautiful story.
Yes.
The narwhal and the hummingbird, what they have in common is they're both living pieces of art.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing about the narwhal, I love that you put in it, is because it's such an unknown whale. It's unknown. And I've written some children's stories. The tertiary reason I wrote the stories, because they're about large fauna of Africa, is I want the next generation to love and protect the large fauna, the elephants, rhinoceros, etc. of Africa. And that was the tertiary story. And what I like about your story is you enlighten the new generation of these two beautiful living examples of art, and hopefully that your readers will care about these animals.
Exactly.
I know that's a weird subterfuge part, but that's a part of all writing, is a multi-level effect. So I really, really love that.
Mm-hmm.
What piece of advice? We have a lot of people that listen to our podcast that are wannabe writers, wish to write, think they have a book in them. And would you expand a little bit about what got you to write that first book?
Yeah. So, we have one precious life. And when it gets really clear to you that, you want to write a book or you have a great idea, that's basically a gift that's been given to you, because not everyone gets those messages. So if you're a sensitive person, you get these messages, and it's almost like you've been given a gift. So when you get the gift, you're like, all right, am I going to take that and run, or am I going to like hide under the covers, and, eat chocolate? And so there's two choices all the time. And in fact, we can do both at the same time. There's plenty of times when I hid under the covers, like I just absolutely can't do this, but so my message would be to keep going, and also to get a coach, to find someone who you feel you could be vulnerable with, to hold your like most precious like ideas with and to, guide you along the way when you're feeling down. It's just like, that's what kindness is all about, is to support each other on our path, because we're here, we're all human, we're alive, and we get to experience this one great life, so why not have a great time?
Exactly.
Support each other. Yeah.
At the book festival I just went to this weekend, the lady next to me had just published her first book, and she said people had kind of been like, "Are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure you want to do it?" And then her kids who were grown, they're like, "Just do it, Mom. Just do it." And her book turned out beautiful. And it's like sometimes all you need is that little push. Like you said, it's in the back of your mind, and if you don't get that message, you already have the message. So go ahead and do it. Just, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a little bit of trial and error. It's going to be a little bit of a journey, but when you do it, it's worth it.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. And the other thing is that someone else might do it if you don't.
Yes.
That's like the other urgency. You have a great story, you have an idea, and if you're not implementing it, it's almost like you said no to that gift. And you can say no, because you can't do it all, but you choose what you want. And when you choose it, I say, keep going, keep going.
So do you feel inspired to do a second book?
Oh yeah, I definitely am. I'm a kind of, I don't know if you call it ADD person. I get overwhelmed with so much.
Me too.
And I'm very sensitive, and so I'm in this phase of weeding through the weeds, help me, to get the book out. And, I learned so much along the way, about Ingram Spark, about Amazon, about all these different venues. I knew nothing, and I really got the pathway now. I'm more confident on what I'm doing. And so the other one is there, and it keeps talking to me in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay,
it's not going to go away. It's not going to go away.
I have characters talk to me in my dreams.
Yes.
So I know exactly what you're doing.
Yes.
Yeah. And I really like your idea about the fauna of Africa. I mean, I'm passionate about that too. The rhinos, oh my God, they're so cute.
Yes.
And, it could be in our lifetime that they become extinct. And that is a burden that we all were going to have to handle. And so how can we work together to make sure that doesn't happen?
Exactly.
Because we're not the only creatures on this planet.
No. Mm-hmm. I agree.
There's my little political
thing. Wait, rhinos are going extinct? I had no idea.
Yeah.
There's
poachers out there. There's people killing them all the time because they want to get their cups.
Of course, that's another show.
I knew those.
That's another show. We can talk all day about that.
I knew of that. I just didn't know that they were on the verge of extinction. I did know that sharks are on the verge of extinction, and they've been around for millions of years, right? And they're all it took was humans to make sharks extinct. It's really sad. Very sad. Yes. And now we have to have you back on so we can have these conversations, because I love these conversations.
Yes, you need to invite Annie back.
Yes.
She's welcome back anytime.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.